Yeah, Kim said she was gonna try to be here.
Great, sounds good.
Yeah. You know, she's rehearsing this week. Yeah, she's, I think, playing with the Columbus Symphony this week. Yeah. Yeah, so she said she'd try to pop in, so. I know. You gonna be in my audience? Yay! Please do. I'll probably point to you and ask you to clarify things. I got it. Well, wonderful. That's good. No, well, I have a lot of information, not all of the information. Did you ever find anything else out about the Historic Society thing? Yeah. Yeah. I don't think I ever saw that come through. I saw the one about the council candidates come through, which is also at Cleverly and Associates. Um, at Cleverly and Associates. Yeah. Yeah, I think he has the top two. Which I've not been there yet.
It's awesome. The members of the board are so cool.
That's nice. Yeah, great. Greg will be coming and switching out cars because I have the Jeep outside with no top, no doors. Yeah. Well, we talked about it, and he was like, he had a meeting downtown where he had to wear a suit. He was like, I don't want to take the Jeep with no doors. And I was like, it's fine. I'm just at the Mac today. Like, otherwise, I'm like, I could run over. I might walk. Of course, I'm always running late, so I didn't walk. So he's on his way to switch out vehicles. He waits till the last minute to put those doors back on. He's obsessed. It takes him about 20 minutes to take them off. Probably a little bit longer to put them back on. But have you met Greg? He's a huge guy. So, and that Jeep is got enormous tires, it's super tall, and the doors are heavy, but it's like, that's his baby, that's his thing. He loves doing it, and as soon as it becomes a string of nice days, everything's coming off. Which I normally love it, but sometimes with like this, I'm like, I had to comb my hair several times when I got here. Yeah, it does. What? No, I didn't want to bother her. It's final week for her. I know she's been kind of grounding. The games will be affected. I got conscripted into concession stands tonight. Although the Q and the Goose chicken sandwiches do really well. Do well. How are you, Jennifer? Good. It is a, yes, yeah. Three spring forks and all the
I'll go ahead and get started. Welcome. My name is Kimberly Goodman. I'm the Executive Director here at the McConnell Arts Center. So excited for today's presentation. Just a few housekeeping things. We don't have any art for you to see, unfortunately, this week, but we will very shortly. We have a new exhibition coming up soon. This event is streaming for those that can't attend, so if you could check and make sure your cell phone is on silent, that would be wonderful. We want to thank Worthington Spotlight, who is the sponsor of this series. We're very thankful to our dear friend Cliff. And our new exhibition is going to be opening on Thursday, May 8th from 6 to 8 p.m. Those gallery openings are always free and open to the public. We always have a little wine, little snacks, so we love that. This Thursday, 7 p.m., we are a host site for the Cinema Columbus Film Festival. So there's information about that film on our website, 7 p.m. There will be a panel discussion after the presentation. And our dear friends and partners, the Worthington Chorus, have performances this weekend, both on Saturday and Sunday. You may have seen on the slides, we do have our Mac on the Road for sale. So what is Mac on the Road? We are taking the idea of lifelong learning and doing some field trips. In the summer, we do 8 weeks of summer camps, so this space is not available to us to do this series, so we're gonna take you on the road. So you'll be getting an email very shortly. A couple of other things. Friday, May 9th is the band Flippo presenting a tribute to Joni Mitchell. And on Saturday, May 10th is the last of our family series with Dance and Sing with Miss Marlene. So if you have little ones in your life, they will really, really enjoy that. And never a shortage of things. Wednesday, May 14th is a preview of the Arts Festival with our Meet Me at the Mac happy hour. Very exciting. And then just a very shameless self-promotion. This weekend, I am playing with the Columbus Symphony for the Ballet Met's presentation of Sleeping Beauty, and we just had the first rehearsal this morning, and it was incredible. I'm just trying to keep up. So if you are coming to that performance over the weekend, come peek in the pit and wave at me, because I will be down there with my amazing colleagues. So Annina Parini has served the community of Worthington for almost a decade as the executive director of Experience Worthington, and today she's gonna spill the beans. Get it? Beans, because it's, yeah. Anyway, behind the world-famous Worthington Farmers Market. So please welcome Nina.
Thanks, Kim. That was a lovely introduction. Thank you all for joining us on this maybe rainy day. I'm not sure what's happening out there. I'm going to go behind the scenes with the Worthington Farmers Market, but a little caveat as we begin. The market, while I run the organization that runs the farmers market, it truly belongs to the community. So raise your hand if you've been to the farmers market. All right, so no real newbies here. Have you ever volunteered at the farmers market? Raise your hand. Okay. A couple of folks. So you can help me tell the story behind the scenes, because it truly is a group and a community effort. I like to think that it's kind of the crowning jewel of Worthington. If you ask someone what they know about Worthington, if they've ever heard of Worthington, typically they'll say, you guys have a wonderful farmers market. So we're very proud of that. And I hope you find this interesting. It really is big business. So let's go behind the scenes at the market. So the Worthington Farmers Market, here's our mission, and I'm going to read it because I love it and it's so pretty. Our mission is simple: encourage, support, and promote the entrepreneurial efforts of local, independent, and small-scale farmers and food artisans seeking to sell their products directly to the consumers. The Worthington Farmers Market aims to provide a quality experience of unmatched to other markets, making sure that we remain the #1 choice for outstanding farmers and food artisans looking to direct sell in Central Ohio. So that is what we hold dear when we think about running the Worthington Farmers Market. So who runs the market? So you see all of our faces up here. My name's Annina Parini. I'm the executive director. So I run what's called the Worthington Partnership. That is the nonprofit organization that is the parent of the farmers market. I'm the only full-time employee. So I have 3 part-time employees. Beth Decker, she's here in the audience. She is our tourism director. And I'll explain a little bit more in a bit about everything that Beth does, because tourism director just doesn't cut it. And then Chelsea Case and Karen Chestre are our farmers market managers. So Chelsea and Karen are both part-time, which is really crazy because it is such a big business, and they do a lot for the market. So the 4 of us together make sure that the market happens every single week. And here we are in our natural habitat at the market, all smiling together. This is a rarity that we are able to force Karen to take a picture, but there we are. So the Worthington Partnership, this is our main mission. This is the parent organization's mission. We foster relationships and create belonging to make Worthington the place to live, work, play, and raise families. So together with the farmers market, Experience Worthington, which is our tourism arm. So we are in charge as a collective group of promoting tourism, showcasing everything that goes on in Worthington, including the farmers market. As well as our green team, which does a lot of wonderful sustainability projects, including with the farmers market team. So we are a nonprofit. We're a 501c3 organization. We are run by a board of directors. Here's the list of board members. These folks are Worthington residents. They have kids in our school district. They run other organizations. They own businesses in the historic district. You see Kitty's Cakes and then AR Workshop. Those are our 2 business owners. Sarah Kuhnel works at Worthington Enterprises. Amy Lloyd, you'll recognize her. She used to be on the school board, and now she's a city council liaison for us. Matt Long runs Howard Hanna Realty. He has 3 kids in the district. David McCorkle is our director, he's the assistant city manager and the economic development director for the city of Worthington. And then Jen Rice is a local resident, and she's our treasurer. She's a CPA. So great group of folks. Like I said, we have connection with the city. That's very important to us. We are funded in large part by a grant from the city of Worthington. So we want to make sure that we're staying connected to the staff and the city council. That relationship is super important. I think a lot of the market's success comes from the trust that the city of Worthington has with our organization to put on this large-scale event every single week. So, of course, we have a city council member sit on our board, and then David, the assistant city manager. We also have a connection with the schools. Vicki Nesda is the head of communication for the Worthington schools. That's really important, particularly in these last few years when there's lots of construction going on. We want to stay in touch with what's happening within that historic district that we play such a big part of. Okay, so the history of the market. I've only lived in Worthington for 15 years, which makes me a newbie in the overall scheme of things in Worthington, right? We're hundreds of years old. The market will celebrate its 38th outdoor season this year. That's something we're very proud of. And as I was putting this presentation together, I was digging into the history of the market, and I was able to find a couple older pictures and some of the articles of the history of the market. So we have a historian, unofficial historian, Sam, one of our dedicated volunteers. He has done a lot of research, and he and I are going to meet soon because I want to add something to our website that digs into the history of the market, because it is something to be proud of and how long that we've kept it going. So here are some of the articles that I was able to pull, well, my friends at the library pulled. I can't research for anything, thank God for librarians. So these are some of the articles that came out in the first few years. What really started the market was the business owners in the historic district got together and said, we need to revitalize this neighborhood. We need to get more people down here. Let's have an event. And they thought, we're in Central Ohio, there's lots of farms around, let's have a farmer's market. Farmers markets weren't as popular as they are now. Now I feel like every neighborhood, every major employer has a weekday farmers market in their parking lot. They're very popular now, and they should be. We should have direct consumer availability to our food source. But back in the 80s, they got together, and with a little help from some folks at the Ohio State University Agricultural Department. So I've heard a couple stories, and please, if you know anything, pipe up, help us, because it's been 38 years. People have come and gone. We've had some leadership changes. We've had some organizational shifts. So I want to have the clearest picture I can of the history of the market. But it boils down to they started a small market in 1987 just for a couple of months. And then the next year, they decided, the businesses got together and formed their organization. They called it the Downtown Merchants Association. And they decided to have a market once a month for a few months during the summer. So it didn't start out every week. So now we are a major machine. I can only imagine only having it a couple of months in the summertime. So if you're interested in any of this particular history, it'll be on our website in the coming weeks. Sam and I will get together, and I know our Historic Society has some great things. Not a lot of pictures. I love old, especially 80s pictures, so I'm hoping to unearth some and get those scanned in and really add something wonderful to our website. But the point is, the businesses in the historic district got together, they said, let's have a farmer's market, and so they started it. So to this day, our business name, our organization name, registered with the state of Ohio, is the Old Worthington Business Association. So the businesses in the downtown own the farmers market. It will never be separated from that downtown area. They own the market, and we are there at their pleasure. We always work together with them. I mean, some of these vendors have been here for decades, but we are there at the pleasure of the brick and mortar businesses. So it's a balancing act. I did find some pictures of some of our longest serving vendors. I don't have a picture of Chuck with Montezuma. He does salsa. He was at the very first market, and I talked to him a couple of years ago, and I said, what was it like? And he was like, people just showed up with their tables and just put them out on the sidewalks wherever they wanted. And I was like, oh my God. Now, it's so different. I mean, they had, in one of the articles it says, they're expecting maybe half a dozen to a dozen vendors. And I'll show you, behind the scenes in our admin system, but we have about 130 vendors now, which is, it's overwhelming to think of, but it's a completely different show, right? But the apple guy, Mark at Galogally Orchards, he drives the furthest. He probably comes over 2.5 hours away. He has been there since the mid-90s. Oakley Farm, these folks, this is a couple, they've been there for over 2 decades. Kyla is one of the, I think she's from the late 80s. Like, I think she started in the late 80s. I don't think she was there at the first one, but she's a very long-serving vendor. And then I put Lisa Sipple with Coco Borrego Farms here in the middle with her orange tent. She grew up in Colonial Hills. She went to Worthington schools. She graduated from Thomas. And then she and her husband moved out to Summit County and started a farm. And so now she and her daughter are there almost every week selling goat cheese and some meat products. So I love that full circle moment. And then Cottage Garden, he's been there forever. So at least I can show, I don't have any cool 80s photos, but these are folks who have been there since almost that time. So I mentioned, do they just show up with their tables and their tents? Absolutely not. And that's, I think, one of the most frustrating for us, sort of the staff, that nobody really understands, except for you all. You'll come away understanding after this. Nobody really understands how much work it takes to put on the Worthington Farmers Market. So I mentioned we have well over 100 vendors. So think about that. 100+ small businesses. That is their livelihood. They came from their farms. They grew that produce. They raised those animals. They slaughtered those animals. They packaged that. Think about everything that happened in that one vendor's life to get to the Worthington Farmers Market. Now times that by 100. That's how I think challenging it is to think about running the market, is that Chelsea and her team, and to a certain extent, Beth and I, have to manage the expectations of 100 business owners. It's like putting on a convention every single week, all year long. We take maybe 3, some years 4 weeks off, and not in a row, right? We'll take off for market day. We'll take off for a couple weeks around the holidays. But honestly, there's just no stopping. It's constant, and we love it. Don't get me wrong. I always want people to come away with an appreciation of how much it takes to put on the market. So do they just show up? Absolutely not. They have to put in an application. So we have a system. This season, we just switched to a new system. It's called MarketWorks. Each vendor puts in creates a profile on this system, right? Everything's online these days. I can't even imagine. And again, we only had like 50, 60 at the time, but I can't imagine having paper mailed to you with checks that you'd have to, I mean, that is a challenge in its own right, but thankfully it's all online now, and they can go in and create a profile and put in all that information. So vendors must create a profile on MarketWorks. And I'm going to show you the behind the scenes for MarketWorks. So this is our new system. I made a Loom video of myself. Beth taught me how to do it. Because I was worried about getting up here and screwing up something in the behind the scenes. Okay, so
into this new system.
here,
So,
I'll start it over.
okay, let's talk about how we handle the administration of the farmers market. So we use a system called MarketWorks. This is a brand new system that we're starting just this season. It is made for farmers market administrators by farmers market administrators, and my team has been really happy with the support that they've received as we've transitioned to this new system. So you can see here, I'm showing you sort of the back end of what our administration folks would see. You can see this first vendor here name is fake. That's the one Chelsea plays around with to make sure that she's seeing everything correctly. But we can see here that we have the vendors listed. We can scroll down and see, we can click on one and see behind the scenes sort of the Sweet Ghost when they've signed up. They need one stall, they don't need any parking. And then as they sign up, they will tell us what they are making. So this is what you'll see when you search for Sweet Ghost. They craft handmade gourmet chocolate bars, confections, and baked goods. We are women and minority-owned business in Columbus, Ohio. So they're not a new vendor. So anyway, this is what they fill out for the application. So you're seeing this. We ask them to upload a certificate of insurance, naming that the city of Worthington, and naming that the Worthington Partnership as well. And then any of the licenses for their food service would be uploaded as well. So this is all of the back end stuff you'll see if you were to click on one of our vendors. So like I said, they all create a profile on MarketWorks, and then they fill out the application that would give us that information that you just saw. So the market dates, that's really important. You'll see here that the only one we have listed is the 2025 outdoor market because, like I said, this is a new system for us. But if we click on this, it will show exactly how many dates we have. So Chelsea's added every Saturday so that we can see exactly who's going to be here when. Let's see, if we go to placement, this is really important where she can see exactly where each vendor is going to be placed. You can see it starts at 1. We have a couple of polls because it's early in the season. You can see here in this column that this is Saturday, May 3rd, then the 10th, 17th, 24th, 31, and so forth. You can scroll all the way through the entire season. So back to placement, we number them 1 to 110. So that's how much we've grown. We've got 110 individual vendors. Well, actually, I should say we have more than that. We have 110 spots. So you can see here that many of them are full-time vendors. So you see them across the columns. They're going to be in the same spot for pretty much the entire season. But if you look here at number 60, you can see that on the 3rd of May, Elote Man, he's a new vendor. He's going to have Mexican street corn, which we're really excited about. He'll be there in number 60 on May 3rd, but the following week, Made Without Grain will be there. Then we'll have no one there at this time on May 17th, Made Without Grain on the 24th, and then a different one, JJ's Meat Fixins. So these are what we would consider part-time vendors. So Chelsea will just sort of slot them in to all of these spots. So it's a real Jenga project for her with this many vendors and this large of a market. So this map is really interesting. So we crafted this and then sent it to the MarketWorks folks, and then they help us build this out. So then Chelsea places all of these numbers along here, and they correspond to what you just saw in that placement section to see, who is in what spot. So that's really exciting, and I'll show you again in a different section how on our website you can look up exactly which vendors are going to be there. So what's really exciting about this new system is that the MarketWorks system has an embedded map that we are going to put in our website. And so you as the customer can go to experienceworthington.com/Worthington Farmers Market, click on vendors, and it'll show you that week's list of placements. And so there's a search feature. You can search, I'm looking for eggs, and then it'll bring up eggs. Every vendor that says they're going to have eggs and that is signed up for that week. So it's going to be really, it's really a wonderful upgrade for us. So this is the back end. So it's a lot. Chelsea spends a lot of time crafting this. A lot of the work is on the front end, and then once the season is starting, it runs a little bit more smoothly once everybody understands their placement, and she can search for who's going to be there each week. So that's market work.
Okay, any questions about that? That's a lot. Go ahead, Kim. Usually, anything less than 15 is considered part-time. So if they don't want the entire market, that creates a hole. And so then we have to shuffle around. So that's why we can have 130 some vendors, but we can go to them. And if they did want full-time, but it's not necessarily a product, so that's another whole section I could put into this presentation is how careful we are about crafting the makeup of the market. So there are generally accepted like best practices for a farmer's market, and that would allow for a certain percentage of your overall market to be meat products, cheese products, fresh produce, fruit, baked goods. So we are very careful to keep to those best practices. So when we are accepting applications, if we get, and we always do, get an abundance of bakers, everybody thinks that their cupcakes should be at the farmer's market, which I'm sure they're lovely, but we don't want to saturate the market with baked goods. And I know that that's why the Worthington Farmers Market is the best around, is because we're very careful about that ratio, and so that you're not going to get bombarded with baked good after baked good after baked good. We went on a run where we were like, no more sourdough. Oh my God, please bake regular bread. Make some English muffins. Make something besides sourdough. But that's a good thing for us that we get bombarded by all different kinds of products. But if, for example, there was somebody who had a really great product, they had a huge social media following, they're up and coming, they seem really nice, and we wanted that product in our market, but we can't offer them full time, then we'll look at, okay, so-and-so is going to be gone these 3 weeks, we can put them in that spot. So it really is a juggling act for the staff to figure out who we can accept. I actually just had a conversation with, and I won't mention any names, but we had a farm that wanted to come to the farmer's market. They're at other markets. They seem like a great market. They're an organic produce farm. And we actually are doing really well with our produce vendors this year. We didn't feel like we could add another one. And I know that sounds kind of crazy because you think, most people come to buy produce, but while we're careful about the ratios, we also are committed to making sure our current vendors are doing well, right? We don't want to saturate the market and negatively affect one of the produce vendors that's done well at our market for years. So it came down to 2 produce farms. They were, I would say, apples to apples, maybe carrots to carrots. We looked at them and we took the one, because it's one of our values, we took the one that was minority run. So there was nothing wrong with this other farm. And I had to have a conversation with that farm manager, and she wanted to know what, I've tried a couple of times, why haven't I gotten in? And I said, listen, we're very committed to our vendors. We really want to make sure they have a good experience. We're very careful about that. And she said, oh my gosh, that's wonderful. She said, I am so glad I asked, because I am in awe that you guys are that committed to your vendors and that you don't just accept anybody. And again, I'm not going to name names, but certain other markets are just like, they've got the room, they're going to put them out there, and you're going to do how you're going to do. We don't do that. One, because we don't have that kind of room, right? We understand the constraints of the historic district. We want to make sure that there's a good visitor experience, that we want to make sure that the businesses aren't completely, overshadowed. So it's a balancing act, right? We want to make sure that we are maintaining those relationships with the vendors that have been at the market in the past, while nurturing relationships with new emerging farmers. Because that's the other thing. Some of our farmers are getting old. They might retire. The political climate is very difficult for farmers right now. We're not sure what's going to happen to small independent farmers. And those are the only ones that we accept, right? So it's a balancing act, right, of accepting new vendors and respecting the relationships we've built with our current vendors. Now, I will say, no vendor is grandfathered in. Every single vendor applies every single season. So they are not guaranteed a spot at the market, even if they've been there for decades. Now, the only way we would not accept a vendor back in is if they violated the rules and the agreements that they sign on for when they apply to the market. So if there's a major issue, we'll have that conversation and say we're going to part ways. But every vendor, we make it very clear in our processes that you must apply every single season. So that is how a vendor gets into the market in terms of they create a profile with MarketWorks, and you kind of saw the behind the scenes of how we process those applications. So this is our beautiful website. I made the joke that everything is online now. If you want current information about the Worthington Farmers Market, you get it online, either on our website or through our wonderful newsletter. We also have a robust social media, thanks to our friend Ms. Decker, where you can see a lot of the vendors. Now, obviously, with that many vendors, we can't do individual spotlights on each vendor because it would literally take all year. We only have 52 weeks in the year, and we have 130 some vendors. So we try to be careful about not playing favorites, but we do share their information on our stories and Instagram if they tag us. So that's a good way to get kind of an idea of what's happening at the market on social media. But if you are a serious shopper and you want to know what's there, you should go to our website. So let me show. We just redid our website. Isn't it so pretty? Authentic, beautiful Worthington. So if we go to a link to our website, let's see if this works. So this is the homepage for experienceworthington.com. So like I said, Experience Worthington is our tourism arm. It also is our website name. So just always remember that. experienceworthington.com, you can find out all kinds of things on our website. So if you're here, I'll just scroll down because it is so pretty. So the latest news, we have a Green Team newsletter, we have a regular kind of general newsletter, and then we have a weekly farmers market newsletter where Karen, our assistant manager, goes to great lengths to share individual news blurbs from individual vendors in the newsletter, as well as she'll publish a list of the vendors that are coming that week. So Karen does a wonderful job with that. So this is our beautiful website. So if you're a serious shopper, you go up here to the corner, Worthington, to the farmers market, click on Worthington Farmers Market. This is kind of the home page for the market. There was a long time that the market had its own website. So again, with this long history, our organization growing and changing and taking on new missions, there was a time where it was worthingtonfarmersmarket.com. Now, you can still go to that. If you Google worthingtonfarmersmarket.com, or if you put in worthingtonfarmersmarket.com, it'll just immediately take you to this page. So we've got it hooked on the back end, so that's okay. I mean, but we wanted to bring it under the umbrella and have everything look nice and cohesive for the whole organization. So about the Worthington Farmers Market, I already read you our beautiful mission. This is just the general information of an outdoor market, the indoor market. This page stays pretty static throughout the year. We might change the picture to show maybe some winter produce, but it's going to stay static. So here's the contact information. There's a little bit of a history. And like I said, I really want to expand that because there is such a rich history, and I want some 80s photos. So if you, and I just added this button today, if you click on the current market info, it'll take you to the vendor page. So it says Worthington Farmers Market vendors, our vendors, and market map. And so we update this every week. So we'll update it with the current date. Now you all know, your Worthington, Columbus folks, you know it's almost every Saturday. So we do update it with the next date. The only time there would be kind of major difference is those weeks that we take off. We take off for the market day in September and a couple times around the holidays. So this is our first outdoor market. There's some details here. It's in real small script, or it's in real small font, but it says, note, the interactive map below has a zoom in out option in the upper left-hand corner to better navigate the market. So we put that in because this is brand new to us. We literally just put this up today because we're switching, right? Saturday was our last outdoor market. We switched completely to this new system for the outdoor season. So we're learning with you. So we just put this embedded code in here, but look at this map. Look how pretty it is. So I know most of you are local. High Street here is going north and south, and then New England Avenue here is the cross street. And then we go down, okay, so you also can take it and grab it with this little hand cursor and move it down to see all the way to Short Street. And then a couple of these vendors go a little bit past that crosswalk there on the United Methodist Church's lawn. So there's a couple there that are a little bit more south, but essentially we go down to Short Street. And then you can scroll all the way up to, again, you have to kind of drag it to see it all because we're getting big. So these are the two south greens, so the southwest and the southeast. So you can see St. John's Episcopal Church on this side, we're in front of them, and then on the other side, we have our southwest neighbors there. The coolest thing that you can do with this, I'm gonna play around with it, and you guys can shout out questions or if you have any ideas. So here is a drop-down menu. You can look at any date. So if you're like, I've got family coming in town and I've talked about this vendor forever, my mom really wants to go see that vendor, let's go see who's gonna be here over Memorial Day weekend. So you can sort by the date. So all the dates are in there. The best part is, and I didn't take you down here. So here are all of the vendors that are gonna be here, and I'm currently on this Saturday, May 3rd. So, Do a Bakery. Who's Do a Bakery? Let's click on it. Do a Bakery. There's an email directly to them. Do a Bakery is actually the part of the family that ran Rhodos Greek restaurant that burnt down in the Linwear Shopping Center. They came to us after that happened, and we really wanted to help them out, and so we made sure to find a spot for them because we want them to come back and thrive, and they have wonderful pastries. So wonderful. So the products that they will have. Now, the only caveat I will say is that this is what they put in their application, right? Maybe one day one week they ran out of Nutella or something, or something happened. They may not have Nutella cheesecake, but this is the breadth of their products here. So that is wonderful. So if you think, where can I get cake pops? Maybe you've got an Easter basket to fill or a something going on and you want to do cake pops. You put it in the search by and just hit return, and it'll tell you Do a Bakery is the only one doing it. So it shows that they're in the #1 spot on the Village Green. And you'll be like, who's Do a Bakery? Okay, well, maybe I'll email them and see if I can do 24 of them. You now have the ability to see and communicate and really get to know all of these folks. And you can see they are a full-time vendor. They have 25 dates already booked. So let's say you want, I would never eat turnips, but I can't even spell turnips. Turnips. Let's see, who's selling turnips? Again, are turnips in season? Maybe, kind of, not really, but if they have a greenhouse, yes. That's the other thing. The caveat is, you have to know what's in season. So if I wrote in tomatoes, a bunch of people would come up and say they're selling tomatoes, but you kind of have to know, like, they're probably not going to have tomatoes because it's May. But it is a wonderful feature. You can see Southside Family Farms, Jorgensen Rock Dove, and then again, you can click on Drift Hills. What are they doing? Okay, oh my God, they have so much stuff. So that will tell you that they are an enormous a producer of fresh veggies. Yeah. I don't think so. That's a good question. Yep. Right. No, that's a great point. And a whole nother section I could add to this presentation. So what? No, you're fine. That's great. That's a great question. Anne Marie's asking, there are several of our vendors who do not take credit cards. And by and large, they are Amish producers. I think Cottage Garden still doesn't take credit cards. Anne Marie grew up here and she lives, 4 houses away from High Street. So she's very familiar with the market. But it's mostly our Amish friends that don't take credit cards. So what we also do is we act like a bank. That's a whole nother avenue of a layer of administration that we put on our staff and our volunteers. So if you don't have cash and you're not a U.S. bank customer, because that's the only, or on the corner, Midwest Bank, what's the one on the corner? Anyway, if you don't want to pay an ATM fee and you have no cash in your pocket, you can come to the market information booth. We're right in front of Grader's parking lot. We have big bright green tablecloths, and we have iPads set up, and we have a credit card machine, and we will swipe your credit card, and we will sell you wooden tokens that act as cash at the Worthington Farmers Market. And they're stamped with Worthington Farmers Market, but they come in $1 and $5 increments. So you can buy $100 in little tokens. They never expire, but if you lose them, it's like losing cash. And they can only be spent at the market. But they're great stocking stuffer. They're fun little Easter basket filler. But then you would go to that vendor and purchase your stuff and give them that as if it were cash, and they will give you cash change if you have any change. And then what happens is at the end of each market, we have intrepid volunteers who go around to all of the vendors and collect these envelopes that we've created. I mean, this is analog, people. We are dealing with wooden tokens in an envelope. And we can't get around it, right? I mean, we've thought about it. We have the best minds in the town thinking about it. It is what it is. But we gather up all these tokens, and then we give the vendors a receipt, because they will hand us an envelope that has a form to fill out that says, on May 3rd, I, as Moreland Farms collected, and Moreland takes in like hundreds and hundreds of dollars, because they're a huge Amish producer for us, hundreds and hundreds of dollars in wooden tokens. And then our staff takes that, they write them a receipt, and they say, here you go, Moreland, we owe you $325 in cash. And then what we have done, thank God, is that we've worked out with our bank that we can do ACH transfers. So even the Amish have checking accounts, and so we've got their checking account on file. And so then Chelsea, our manager, usually early in the week, goes in and fills out a form that our bookkeeper keeps track of. So we know that we took in $300 and $325 from Moreland Farms, and then she puts in and sends Moreland Farms $325. So we took that money from you as the customer. We swiped your card for whatever you spent at Moreland. So we're constantly balancing the Square, which is our credit card processor, with the output sort of return to the farmer based on the receipts and their envelopes. And so it's a really kind of complex, fun little banking system that we've created. But honestly, we take in upwards of $3,000 every single week. So we're processing that much. So we're a tiny little bank. So again, I can't think of a way to get around it until the Amish decide to take credit cards. And with the way the rates are going, I wouldn't take credit cards now. I mean, it's a nice perk that we do for them. The other thing that is worth noting and is dear to our hearts is that we are a SNAP site. So folks on the SNAP program can bring their dollars, their card, to the information booth at the farmer's market, and they can swipe it and kind of take money out of their SNAP account. They're allotted a certain amount per week, and they can take that out, and we give them different tokens, so specialized SNAP program tokens. And that's a whole separate system. It's not the same Square system, it's a separate system, and that is very complex and goofy. But we are really committed to making sure that our neighbors have that access to that fresh food at the farmer's market. And then there's also another program called Produce Perks, which is a state-funded, state or maybe it's through agriculture department, but it's a match program. So let's say they have $25 to spend on produce per week. That program matches it. So they can double their money at the farmer's market through our program. So we're dealing with regular tokens, we're dealing with SNAP, and we're dealing with Produce Perks. So there's 3 kinds of tokens going around. So again, pretty complex, but really important to make sure that we're serving the breadth of the community. Any questions about that? Yeah. Yeah, so they pay per week. We offer a slight discount if they pay in advance for all of the year, but some of them pay in cash every week. So there's a slight price break if they sign up for more than 15. So there's a bit of an incentive to be a full-time vendor, but it is kind of like a weekly booth fee. Yeah. And it's pretty low in terms of what you think a major event like ours is. But we're committed to making sure that the farmers, we're not in this to make money. We're in this to have a community service. I mean, we do make money. The Worthington Farmers Market is profitable. And to be honest with you, that profit props up the rest of the activities that we do. So we're a symbiotic organization, but it is a profitable venture for sure. So how does it happen? All of this stuff, we talked about that, and you saw there's only 4 people on the team, right? And I'm the only full-time one. The other ones are part-time. How does this all happen every single week of the year in terms of the website, the market works, the social media, the relationships with the vendors, the tokens? How does it happen? Volunteers. We have to have volunteers. I mean, we could not function. And in fact, when we know somebody's got a surgery, somebody's going on vacation, if they coincide, we all flip out. We think, oh my God, Sylvia's not gonna be there this weekend. What are we gonna do? We depend dearly on volunteers. So if you take anything away from this presentation, I hope it inspires you to raise your hand and come volunteer. It's so much fun. It is truly a happy place, right? I talk about how much goes on and how much hard work it is, but it really is a happy place. Most of our volunteers, I mean, Carolyn is a regular volunteer. They say that this is their happy place. This is their stress relief. They become friends with the other volunteers. They get to know all of the vendors. They recognize customers. They see kids grow up. I mean, all of those volunteers have seen all of my boys grow up. They've seen my dogs. They know the dogs at the market. It's really a happy place. And hopefully you think that and know that, but even if you're working at the market, it's really fun. So the volunteers make it happen. This was our volunteers last Saturday. After the last indoor market, Chelsea took them all out for pizza and beers at Pies and Pints. So those are happy faces. So how do you get involved? So there is, this is the link to sign up. This is the general volunteer. So I said, you know, the farmer's market props up all of our other things. We have lots of things going on all the time. We need board members. We need people planning events. We need people on our green team. We need people on the farmer's market team. So if you're inspired by all the work that we do, you can come to experienceworthington.com/volunteer and then fill out this form. And then you can check, how are you interested in getting involved? Partnership events, which are like the Sunday Fun Days, the night market, Worthington Farmers Market, typically Saturday mornings, right? But there are other ways you can get involved if you don't, if you can't be there every Saturday. And then the green team. The green team does a great job with all things sustainable. So that's the link to get connected to the whole organization. But then the direct sign up link is, oops, nope. Clicked on the wrong thing. There's the presentation. So let me get back here to the Worthington Farmers Market, about the farmers market. Farmers Market FAQs, vendor list, volunteer. This button will take you directly to the Sign Up Genius. So George is our volunteer coordinator, George Blimes. I know my MAC team knows him. George is like the volunteer of the year every year. He volunteers at the MAC, he volunteers for the partnership, he volunteers for the Wildlife Association. That guy, I want to be him when I grow up. So here is the volunteer slots for this Saturday. So it looks like we're doing pretty well, but sometimes we'll get to Thursday or Friday and it'll be empty and we'll start to panic because we could do it with just our team, but it's really hard and it is super stressful. And then we have to scale back kind of the relationships that we have during the market. If something goes wrong, God forbid, we wouldn't be able to sell tokens. And that just makes for a not great visitor experience if we don't have a full team. So there's setup. If you're a morning person, come on down at 6:30. It's so fun. I know I am not a morning person, but I get jazzed when I go up there because it's at the early part of the season, it's dark. And we have little lights in the van and we're pulling things out and you just feel like you're in on something because the whole town is empty and you're there and you're setting stuff up and you're getting ready and you see people coming in with their products and it's just really, it's really fun. Again, I'm not a morning person, but I do get jazzed when I'm working the early shift. The token coordinator, that's like I said, they go around and collect tokens through first thing and then at the end. And that's their chance to talk to the vendors, ask them if there's anything going on, any questions, anything they're concerned about. Are you short-staffed today? Because then we have these market floaters, we call them market floaters. That's, you kind of station yourself at the booth and then if something happens or if we need somebody, if it's super hot, here, take water to our vendors. If we know one of the vendors had a call off and they are by themselves at their booth, we'll send a market floater to relieve them so they can take a bathroom break or go get a cup of coffee. So that market floater kind of fills in as needed with the whole market because it's big, right? We're stationed in the center, but we need people to move around on our behalf. Customer service at the info booth, that's answering questions. We wouldn't probably start you at customer service. You would shadow someone, right, Carolyn? It's a tough job because people come up and, it is customer service and they ask you weird questions. They have an issue. They might want to complain about a dog. What else do they say at the info booth? Yep. Yes. So somebody took in a New Albany token. We thought, oh, come on, New Albany. We're not the same. But yes, so they ask about tokens. We also sell stuff, right? We're a little, we have really cute tote bags. Oh my gosh, we haven't posted about the new tote bags yet, Beth. we've got new tote bags, and they're super cute. They're different than the other ones we've had in the past. They are real cute, so you'll keep an eye out for those. We sell T-shirts. If you volunteer, you'll get one of these. I am not a volunteer, but this is such a cute T-shirt. It says "Get Fresh with Us" on the back. We think that's a fun little slogan. So customer service is really important, and then cash register. Typically, Sylvia's our gal at the cash register. Again, we wouldn't start you on the cash register because it is a lot. You are running a little small business there. You're selling things, you're giving tokens. We have water bottles, we have totes, we have T-shirts. We had hats at one point. So that's a little bit more complex, but we'll shadow you. If you're interested in that and you like talking to people and you like, being a cashier, we'll put you there. Sylvia sometimes goes on vacation. We need help. Again, so these are broken into typically 1 hour chunks. So if you can give us a couple of hours on a Saturday morning, we would be immensely grateful. I would say our biggest need is the market wrap up. We need strong backs. A lot of our volunteers are on the older side, or they might not have a back issue. So when it's time to take down those heavy tents and put away those folding tables, we need some help doing that. It's also, a lot of our volunteers love staying the entire time, but then when it comes to 11:30, they're done. They've been there for 4 hours, it's hot. I get it. So if anything, I would say we need help like from 11:30 to 1. Again, it gets hot towards the end, especially in August or September. And we need help kind of loading the van back up and helping open up the closed street, because we do close a portion of East New England, moving barricades, things like that. So if you know of anybody who wants to do that, we have kind of a little campaign going on at the high school, trying to get those National Honor Society kids who need those volunteer hours to sign up. We always need that. And I know it's hard to get a teen up in the morning at 6:30, so maybe they'll come at 11:30. So if you know of any teens who need volunteer hours, we would desperately appreciate that. So this Sign Up Genius goes for the entire season. So if you ever click on this and we're getting into July and August, you got to scroll, right? Just always remember to scroll down to it. We've tried a couple of different kinds of sign-ups, but Sign Up Genius is the best, even though there's all these silly pop-up ads. But it really is the best, so that's how we do it. So volunteers, super, super important. Let's see, I think I scrolled ahead here. All right, so we talked about volunteer sign up. How am I? I'm getting up to an hour. Any questions so far? I could talk for hours. Okay, so as I've said before, it's a year-round farmers market. Everybody's psyched that we're coming outside. That is where we began. We are owned by the historic district businesses. But about 17 years ago, a group got together and said, let's have a year-round market. It started, I think, in 2008. I read through a bunch of articles. It started in January of 2008 at the Griswold Center, and I think they had maybe 10, 15 vendors inside the Griswold Center. I moved here in 2010, so I got to see it at the Griswold for a few years, and then we established a relationship with the shops at Worthington Place. It used to be called the Worthington Mall, and they let us come up there, and we are ruined for anything else, because having a big open mall space for free with empty stores, it's not ideal for the shopping center, but it is really ideal for the farmers market. So we're constantly worried about what we're gonna do when that mall gets under renovation. I mean, I'm really hoping for it for the good of the community, but it's gonna hurt the indoor farmers market, because we have grown. We were at over 100 vendors inside. I mean, we were feeling real strong a couple of years ago and thought, we can handle it. We got the room, there's empty stores, let's bring them all here. And now we're like, how could we ever scale down? There's no place in Worthington that can fit us, none. We have asked everybody, because there was a time early, right after COVID where they thought they were going to, or actually it was before COVID, where they thought they were going to tear it down. And we thought, oh my God, what are we going to do? We got with Matt Gregory, he's the local commercial real estate agent, and he called dozens and dozens of companies that have warehouses. There's hotels up at Crosswoods that have gorgeous ballrooms. They're not going to give it to us for free. And while I said, we are profitable, the numbers do not work if you think about what they're charging for a banquet or a wedding on a Saturday morning. So we'll figure it out, right? We can roll, we could pivot, but being a year-round market brings an added layer of complexity. Most of you hopefully know that last year we were nominated and we won the 2024 Reader's Choice USA Today 10 Best. We got number 1 last year. This year we went again and we got number 5. That's okay. I think everybody needs their turn at number 1 because when we got number 1 last year, it was overwhelming. We weren't sure what to expect because it's a reader's poll, right? It's a popularity contest. Beth worked really, really hard with getting the word out about voting, and we made it happen, and we got number 1. Let's just talk about the attendance at that first couple of markets. So when we come outside in May, typically, and we have numbers for about 10 years to look back on, typically in May, those early May days, we get maybe 4,000, 5,000 if it's a gorgeous day. It's usually not a gorgeous day in early May. Last year when we got named number 1 right before we went outside, that day we had over 10,000 people. I mean, yes, that's great. We were scared. We were like, oh my God, what if it continues that trend? Because typically a summer it goes, 4,000 or 5,000, maybe 4,000 or 5,000, maybe we'll hit 6,000. Then in June and July when the crops are, really full and the produce is coming out, maybe we'll hit 8,000, 9,000. We thought, oh my God, what if it just keeps continuing that trend? So we were scared, but the businesses did amazing. We had so many new visitors. So ultimately it was a good thing. But we did break every record last year. The summer season average is 7,461 each week. So again, just crushing records. Record attendance in May, it was over 10,000. Now that our friends from the MAC brought the Arts Festival back, that date is usually over 11,000. And that's wonderful. It's real crowded, but those are some really, really big numbers. We reported record sales from all the vendors last year. So even though we only got 5 this year, we're still nationally ranked. And I mean, if you look at the list of who kind of beat us out, it's like Hawaii. I'm like, okay, Hawaii, you can win. There were a couple of other really beautiful, wonderful markets. Chelsea got to go to the National Farmers Market Convention this year. It was in San Diego, and she met so many wonderful people and made connections. But we are, by and large, one of the biggest farmers markets in the country. And we can say that because we are a true farmers market, right? You will not find t-shirts, you won't find candles, you won't find other handmade goods at our market, except on the days where we do host a separate makers market. But being part of the Worthington Farmers Market, you gotta grow it or make it, and it's gotta be a consumable. So that is an important distinction for us, but we are one of the biggest markets in the country. Why does it matter? I talked about how committed we are to the SNAP program. Last year we had almost $12,000 in SNAP transactions. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of dollars in our vendors' pockets, and a lot of neighbors getting wonderful quality local food. Again, Produce Perks, I mentioned that's the match program. That was over 8,000. So we had 87 vendors in the 2023-2024 market. And we had 94 last year, so I misspoke. We had 94 vendors during the winter market. So continued growth, and we are very committed to diversifying the market. We want our market vendors to reflect the community. So this year we brought in, I think I talked about the new Greek baker, and then that Black-owned farm, that Southside Family Farms, is our new produce vendor. So very committed to diversity at the market. This is another thing that we had the first of last year. Karen, our assistant manager, is an incredibly talented chef. She's spent her career in the food industry, whether as a caterer, she managed the commissary down in Grandview for years. Very, very wonderful, talented chef. She wanted to do a market-to-table dinner, and we pulled it off. She did the bulk of the work, but it was 95% of the meal. It was a 5-course meal. This year, she's like, I'm not doing 5 courses. That was way too many. So it was a lot of vendors. So she got things from all different vendors throughout the market. Most of them donated to us or gave us a cost break. And it was really a beautiful showcase of the breadth of products at the market. It helped us connect to vendors in a new way. It deepened our connections. A lot of our producers are pretty talented, well-known chefs. So if you think about Black Cap hot sauce, that chef is very well-known. There's a food truck that's a regular at the market, Ajumama. She is a wonderful chef that's well-known. So they helped us build those different courses at the event, and you can see a couple of pictures from that here. It was at the Griswold Center, which I think was a kind of full circle moment that we were back in the Grizz in the town hall where the winter market started. But we plan to do it again this year. It's September 24th, right, Beth? It's a Wednesday, September 24th, I think. So tickets will go on sale, about a month in advance. We definitely will sell out. I think we can fit about 75 people in that room, and that feels good to us based on the size of the kitchen. So that was a wonderful event for us to pull off. Okay, I am at an hour mark, and I said I was going to go an hour. I have a whole second half of the presentation to talk about what the rest of the organization does, but I'll just open it up to questions. Go ahead. That's a great question. It is not real scientific. Every hour, we send 4 or 5, sometimes if we have the volunteers. This is, again, the more volunteer help we have, the better data we can get across the board for the market. But 4, 5, 6 people out every hour, and for 10 minutes, so we pick certain spots where that's kind of an entrance, right? It's a neighborhood. There's no door in, door out. So we send them to near the front of the United Methodist Church. We send one over kind of by Dewey's if they're coming from the back of that parking lot. We send one over to West New England to look at the neighborhood, kind of like towards the neighborhood down West New England. We send one kind of in the middle to see people coming from the inn parking lot behind there. We send somebody to each green to kind of watch people come in. And they have little clickers, and they just stand there for 10 minutes, and they click and watch people come in. It's kind of fun. It's fascinating to watch people come in, and I don't know, I'm a flaming extrovert, so I love watching people come in and think about, are they regulars? Are they new? Do they have a question for me? Like, can I help them in some way? It's fascinating. So then we come back, and George, our volunteer manager, has a sheet. Again, it's kind of analog. We do each hour, and that 10 minutes, each volunteer comes back and reports how many, and then we just multiply. So we just kind of extrapolate based on the 10 minutes each hour. So it's not scientific, but it's a pretty good. What's really funny is, I guess maybe not funny, but it reinforced our kind of little analog process. The city a few years ago had cameras put on the corner of West New England and East New England, and they were looking at traffic patterns for a number of reasons. They weren't like red light cameras or anything like that, but I was asking them to let us close East New England because if you've been there, you know a lot of people just jaywalk across from the Dewey's Plaza to the closed parking lot, and they don't look, and they don't, and that intersection is so hectic, I'll say, right at High Street and West New England when you're coming and you're turning left and there's crowds of people coming across. So they put up cameras, and they had a machine counting, and our numbers were so close. I mean, they were within, tens. It was really fascinating because they immediately were like, yes, please close that street. Absolutely do it. No, I count all the people in the crowd. Yeah, because you never know, that kid might have his allowance and he's going to go buy a cake pop. He could be a customer. I mean, I don't know if we say specifically don't count babies, but I say like that's a family of 5 that came, because it helps us have an idea of the entire. And it's not just farmers market vendor or customers, right? We want to tell our restaurants, a family of 5 came in. They could be customers at any of the businesses. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes, that's a great question. And that's part of the best practices with farmers markets, is that you don't want to group products together. It's why Costco is kind of goofy. I mean, I just read an article about how Costco is set up, and they make it a treasure hunt to get you to buy more. So it's a similar idea, is that you don't want to group products together. Now, I know, and we as a team know a little bit more about this because of COVID. So when COVID happened and it shut the world down, we took 1 week off and we turned it around, and we had a drive-through pre-order market that very next week. And we did then end up grouping products together during that time. So we went from a drive-through market with products, kind of grouped together, because everyone was pre-ordering, and if you only had one kind of product, you got to go to this line, and if you had meat, you went to this line. And we had flags and we had signs, and oh my gosh, it was so, I loved it. It was awesome. Not the global pandemic, but figuring out that and that challenge. But we did group it that way. And then when we went to a walk-through market in a parking lot, we had one way in, one way out. We managed the amount of people to social distance, and we were still grouping by products. And let me tell you, the vendors hated it. It's competition, and there is, there's science behind it, why you don't want all of the products that you need in, it's why the Costco rotisserie chicken's in the back. They make you, and it's still $5.99. They make you walk through everything, and you're not getting out of there for $5.99. So it's the retail mentality of why we don't group them together. And we want you to look at the brick and mortar businesses, right? We also are very strategic. We have several coffee vendors. So we make sure that we don't put a coffee vendor near Kitty's or real close to Lachat. We don't want to do that to them. But we also know that Kitty's and Lachat and Joya's can't handle 10,000 people wanting coffee. So we have a food truck and we have 4 coffee vendors, but we spread them out so that you have to kind of look for them, and that the competition is spread amongst the whole market. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I can tell you why we don't do that. Now, we do allow busking in terms of music. So, talented flautists can come. I'm looking at Anne Marie because her daughter has busked before. Oh, with the violin, yeah. I was going to say she plays the flute because Kim teaches her, but. Yeah. Yes, if you're looking to make a couple bucks, go, get a guitar and learn to sing. So we do have some music, but it isn't a performance, right? And I think I know what you're talking about. Some markets have blown up and they have all kinds of products. We don't do that because we're very committed to only being a farmer's market. And when we say farmer's market, now I will mention a name, Dublin's market is just Dublin Market. You notice there's no farm in that name because they have all kinds of things. And that's okay. That has a place in the world. But we started as a farmer's market. We're committed to those kind of Central Ohio agricultural roots. As an executive director, and I think my board is very committed to always keeping that. Now, I will say, we also are the tourism arm for Worthington. So we also then put on our hat of what does a visitor want? They kind of want music. They might want some handmade baby clothes. So how we're handling that kind of need and competition in the marketplace is that twice a month, the first and third Saturday on the Northeast Village Green, which is the one by the Cohatch and so to speak, where the old library is, there will be a maker's market. So any handmade baby clothes, candles, all the kind of makers things, earrings, all kinds of things will be up there. And we'll have a sign that says Worthington Makers Market. We're going to make it very clear that it is not part of the Worthington Farmers Market. Now it's us. It's my organization. It's one of our wonderful volunteers who is handling it for us. But we're very careful about being cohesive but separate, because we're going to take advantage of those 10,000 people that are here, right? And they, more is more sometimes with that kind of thing. But we want to make it real clear that it's not part of the Worthington Farmers Market. We have a brand that we want to protect, so that's why we don't allow it. Any other questions? Yeah, go ahead. Depends on who you ask. I mean, a neighbor like Anne Marie might say, heck no, there's too much. So we do have, and this is something I need to add to this presentation, we have a farmers market community advisory board. So it includes one of Anne Marie's neighbors, Stephen Cook. He'll tell you exactly what he thinks. He's at the corner of Evening Street and West New England. So, he gets hit with parking in front. He's on a corner. People speed through the parking. So, and then we have Dan Mullen, who's another neighbor who's on the corner of Hartford and East New England. So so we have neighbors that will tell us, listen, it's too much, or have you thought about this, or this is what. So we're constantly checking in with our businesses about how they feel. Last year was a bit of a speed bump when we moved back outdoors because it was Joya's first year. Joya's is a new restaurant owned by a celebrity chef that is doing incredible. Always has a line. It's super popular. People come from all over Central Ohio. They've never set foot in Worthington before. And then that intersection of their success and the market that has had vendors in front of their shop for decades, that was an uncomfortable conversation because, like I said at the beginning, the market belongs to those vendors, but there's expectation that Oakleaf Farms is right here in front of this building, and that and in their minds, they've seen businesses come and go, and it's a delicate balance. But, the Village Green is big. I think there might be some space to expand there. We're also constantly meeting with the Parks Department because we kill all their grass on that beautiful park. So, it's, we have to decide if it's necessary to expand. Do we need to expand? I don't know. I think we're in a good place right now. You know, if you think about it, we haven't been on the Village Green for decades. We only went there when we came back after COVID so we could spread out. Now that that threat is gone, we've filled in those those spaces, and it's pretty crowded there. But yeah, I think there is room for expansion, but I don't know necessarily that there's a need. Carolyn, did you have a question?
I wanted to ask if you still do the farmer audits when you get the application, so that, because in the past, there's some crazy stories about people, well, you can probably tell some
Yeah.
of those crazy stories.
So I don't know that we've had a visit to a farm, but in the past we have actually, if we get an application from a farm that we don't know the farmer, we've never heard of them, we would send our manager out to visit and kind of inspect it. We haven't done that in a long time, and I guess I would say it's mostly because there's so much more online presence that we can kind of check up on them, and we can get some, you know, we have such a network of farmers all over the state, frankly, that we can kind of check their references if we need to. But that's a great question. We used to do that, but we don't necessarily anymore. We are very committed to making sure that all of their licensures are up to date. That's another thing that distinguishes us from other markets. I think we hear it all the time. No other market asks me for my food license. And we're like, why not? They just play fast and loose with that. And that's, I mean, they're not as big as us. They don't have the reputation to lose like we do. So we're very, I mean, that's a large part of what Karen, our assistant manager, does is run down those licenses, and she's out there. She has a really close relationship with the food inspection folks, the health inspectors, and so she knows what's allowed. She knows you can't make chicken salad at your house and sell it. I mean, we had somebody try to do that, and we shut it down real quick. Not that they're doing anything wrong. It's just it's against the rules, and we do not play fast and loose with that. Yeah. Oh yeah. So if you love pickles, the Crazy Cucumber is our pickle vendor, and frankly, it's the only pickled product we have. We lost the chili chick. She had a baby and isn't coming back. We used to have a kraut vendor. Anyway, I love things that are pickled, and but she's the only pickle vendor. It's the Crazy Cucumber. She is in the corner of the Graders parking lot, and there's a line. The entire market, all 4 hours, she has a huge line. And it gets so hot, and people are standing in this line, and I'm thinking, why? I mean, I guess if you don't know, you don't know, but you can pre-order. Go to just Google Crazy Cucumber, and it'll take you right to their website, bing, bang, you can order it, and they'll send you a text confirming it, and then you just walk up behind the booth, and you just say, excuse me, I have a pre-order, and they'll turn around, and what's your last name? Oh, you're number 10, here you go, bye. And you walk away with your pickles. It's amazing. 100%. You're like, sorry, you don't know. But yeah, that's a lot of our vendors have pre-orders. I pre-ordered, this will tell you a little bit about me, but I get pickles and donuts. That's what I got last weekend. I pre-ordered my Flourish donuts. Have you ever had Flourish donuts? God, they're so good. They're brioche filled donuts. You can get them unfilled, but they have Nutella. Last week they had brown butter, mascarpone. Oh my God, it was so good. So I pre-ordered, I just roll in, grab them, and head out. I think we're going to try it again. Again, that it is, if we don't have the staff, it's very hard on us. So what we did last year, we hear a lot of complaints about there's no parking, it's hard to park, you know, it's too crowded. So we tried a trolley, or kind of a shuttle, where we had folks park at 6700 High Street, which is the old Blue Cross Blue Shield Anthem building. that's a big open parking lot. So we had the electronic signs the city put up for us. We had yard signs everywhere. We had a Village Green sign. We did it for 2 months, and ridership was really low. But it's also hard for us because Chelsea has to go and put up like the A-frame signs at the at the parking lot and at the stop, and I ran around in my Jeep throwing out yard signs in all the parking lots, telling people looking for parking, because we're thinking if you're circling and you can't find parking, oh hey, there's a shuttle, let's go. So I thought we did a really good job publicizing it, but ridership was really low. I think the one mistake we did make was we didn't want to add to the traffic in the heart of the market right at evening in West New England, or at high in West New England. So we didn't drop off there. We dropped off at the Griswold Center. And I think we should, if we're going to try it again, we'll have them use the bus lane right in front of the Worthington Inn. And that way, and we put magnets on the side of the bus because it's a city bus. The city let us use their bus. We paid for the driver's hours and the gas, but we put magnets that had the logo on it so it looked like a farmer's market bus. If I think people see a bus pulling up that says farmer's market, people getting off, that might trigger, more ridership, but I don't know. It's hard to change your behavior. If you're a regular at the market, you kind of know where to park. So it's really, I think, the infrequent guests that get frustrated by the parking. I think we'll try it again. The city said they'd do it again for us, but yeah, it's one of those things like, is it a real problem or is it just something people complain about? I always say there's not a parking problem, we have a walking problem. Like there's plenty of parking, you just don't want to walk. You can park up at Huntington Bank. They're not going to tow you. You can park at the library. I shouldn't say that, but there's plenty of parking. There's street parking. I mean, they park all the way down West New England into my neighborhood. I live right off of West New England. They park around the corner on Simsbury Drive. So it's a walk up the hill, but it's a historic district. It's not a shopping center. Any other questions? Well, this was so fun. I hope you learned a lot. I hope you volunteer. Please come visit us this Saturday, 8 a.m. We start 8 a.m. to noon. We'll be there. Thanks, everybody.